Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time you're watching this video. I'm once again Richard Taylor, coming with another video concerning some concerns I have about the Wayne County Sheriff Department in respect to the current situation with my friend, my brother, Anthony Williams, who was assaulted by the Wayne County Sheriff Department last month and has since lost his job, had criminal charges filed against him. And so I'm doing a series of videos exposing certain incidents of force, contempt, corruption, and all sorts of misconduct by the Wayne County Sheriff Department. Now this video right here concerns a young lady who was punched in the face. As you see the caption and you see the picture, she was punched in the face after an incident with the Wayne County Sheriff Department where she was on the ground in handcuffs, and the officer came and punched her in the face while she was handcuffed. Now, a little backstory: there was a Facebook post a couple of months ago from a close friend of mine who said they broken Brittany's leg. And I reached out to her and to find out the particulars of the situation, and she told me a little bit about it. But then the next day she gave me her little sister's number, who was the victim, Miss Brittany, as you see the photo. And I called and talked to her, and she gave me a explanation of the situation. And she said there was some situation with a tow truck and her vehicle, and she consequently drove off, and the police were called, and while the police were pursuing her, she crashed her vehicle. She got out, attempted to run, and when she attempted to run, she was tackled by the police, and she was placed in handcuffs. And at that time, that is when the officer came in and struck her in the face while she was laying on the ground with her hands behind her back in handcuffs, when other officers already had her subdued. Now, she admitted she was wrong. She said she got scared. She ran from the police. She's also diagnosed with bipolar and paranoid schizophrenia or something like that. Nevertheless, she admitted her wrong with running from the police. Nevertheless, that doesn't justify the officer coming up and punching her in the face. And as she explained the story about the officer, she gave the description of the officer and the smile and the smirk that he had on his face after he did what he did to her. And as I was thinking, I said, well, that sounds like the same officer that stopped me on New Year's Day and harassed and targeted me and wrote me a violation for something dealing with my vehicle. By the way, that violation was dismissed. Nevertheless, I said that sounds exactly like the man, just from her description of it. And also her sister came to the scene, and when her sister protested about the treatment that her sister was receiving, she was also placed in handcuffs and sat in the back car, and actually once again antagonized by this one particular officer. And so a couple of days later, the young lady told me that one of the detectives at the scene was going to get the officer's name and badge number because she wanted to file a complaint about him. And so when I called her back a couple of days later, she said that the officer name was Officer Taylor. And that name is no relation to me, Richard Taylor, but that is the same exact officer who pulled me over, who was very coarse, who was very indifferent, who was very harsh towards me in my situation dealing with him. So I knew she had to be telling the truth. So nevertheless, I said, okay, this is that same officer. And I said, okay, well, we're going to go down there and we're going to file a complaint upon him. And because she said, yes, I want to file charges of assault on a handicapped person. And so I got her name and I went down there to the William Street location in Goldsboro downtown. And I informed the lady that, who I was, and I want to file charges on an officer. And the lady asked my name and asked the victim's name and also asked the officer's name. And so I gave it to him. And the lady said, well, you can't file charges here. You know, you can't file charges on an officer. You have to go. You can't file at, you know, at the magistrate office. You have to go to the actual sheriff department, which is on the Highway 117. So the lady, I said, and the lady went back in the back, and I asked her who should I talk to. So the lady went back in the back for about 5 minutes, and she came back with a piece of paper, a couple of names that I should go and talk to at the sheriff's headquarters. So I left and went down to the sheriff headquarters. But by the time that I got to the sheriff headquarters, now this is the whole intimidation factor. That same officer that I told her that I wanted to file a complaint against was at the entrance of the parking lot, literally blocking the parking lot as I tried to pull in. And when I pulled in, he saw me, I saw him, and he looked at me with that same smirk that the victim was telling me about, and that same smirk that I experienced when he stopped me. Nevertheless, undeterred, I realized that it was a slight intimidation tactic, but I wasn't deterred. So I went into the office, pressed the intercom button, and the officer came out that I needed to see. And I told him who I was and explained the situation. And I said, I'm here for a family friend. She said she was assaulted by one of your officers. I want to file a complaint. And I told him about the situation. He said he was familiar with the situation, and he said I could not file a complaint. The actual person had to come to file a complaint. I said, okay, I understand that. So now what happens when this complaint is filed? Well, you know, we take it in and you know, we look it over, and, you know, we send it to this person, and it goes up to this person, and it goes up to this person. And so I asked him, I said, so basically you guys are policing your own self. Like, this complaint doesn't leave the sheriff's department. And he said, yes, that's correct. So I'm thinking to myself, how can one expect a group of people to police themselves, basically? And so I asked him about the situation, and I said, well, okay, well, you know, this lady said she was struck in the face by an officer. He said, you know, the guy said, well, you know, we have a right to strike anybody anywhere if we feel the need to. I said, well, the lady was in handcuffs on the ground. He said, it doesn't matter. If we feel like we need to use force, we can use any acceptable force we deem necessary. And so I'm like, okay, so I see where this is going. So I said, okay, well, what about the video camera? We want to see the videotape from the officers. Well, you know, we can't release that to you or her. You know, she has to get an attorney and get the attorney to file the injunction to get the videotape recording. So I said, okay, all right. So basically there's levels of defense of officer misconduct where you can't get through to the form of justice that you want to receive. So I left. I told her, you know, I called her and told her the situation, and she said, well, she was going to get a lawyer. She had some people helping her out. And I left the situation alone because she said, you know, she was going to handle it. But nevertheless, about a week later, I'm talking to a random person in the community about the situation. And he was like, yeah, I heard about that situation. Actually, yeah, I talked to one of the deputies who was on the scene. And he said, yeah, now they roughed her up. Those were his words. He said, yeah, they really roughed her up. And he said, well, actually, yeah, I saw the video. The deputy showed me the video. And so I'm thinking, okay, when I just went down there and asked the official at the sheriff department office, how could I see the video? And he told me I had to get a lawyer to see the video. But yet and still, deputies at the scene are actually showing this video for entertainment purposes to their friends and family. So that just underscores the lack of accountability, the do what I want to nature of the members of the Wayne County Sheriff Department, where they can strike a lady in handcuffs and then show the video to friends and random members of the community without a lawyer. You know, there has to be some kind of justification or some kind of penalty involved if this official is walking around just showing videos of quote-unquote evidential videos to random people. And this is not the first incidents that I've heard of people who are uninvolved with cases and videos shown to them by sheriff deputies. So I'm just showing this video, and unfortunately, the lady has obtained a lawyer, and she has her complaint filled, whereas they can get some sort of justice in her assault. But I just want to share this video because once again, the officer name, and I'm not afraid to say his name, is Officer Taylor from the Wayne County Sheriff Department. So if you guys ever come in contact with him, just know, and the sad thing about it, he is a black man. So that is sad about it, because you know there are certain officers, when they get that position, I think they have this complex where they have to show their counterparts who are not black they're just as tough on black people as their counterparts are, and they actually have to be overly tough to prove themselves. So I advise everybody who's in law enforcement and happens to be of color to not take on this persona where you have to feel like that you have to be overzealous, over excessive to people who look like you to prove your worth, because you know the overall system is against black people in general. So I just want to encourage people, and I'm making these videos just to expose what really goes on behind the scenes. Officer is striking a young woman who's mentally ill, mentally disabled, has some mental issues, in handcuffs on the ground. Now, once again, I'm not excusing her behavior of running from the police or, you know, fleeing in the vehicle, but nevertheless, she's going to pay for her crimes in court. She doesn't need to be assaulted by members of law enforcement who take it upon themselves to do what they want to, knowing that they have an entire system to protect them. So once again, this video is just to give people hope. I am Richard Taylor, the author of Blue Lights in My Rear View, and as my shirt says, I'm the neighborhood hope dealer. So I'm doing these videos in hopes of, you know, officers will see these videos and know that they cannot continue to do things that are detrimental to people who are in their care, people who they supposed to protect and serve, yet still they feel like they have the ability to do what they want when they want to. And as we seen with the video in the case of my brother Anthony Williams, that excessive force was used, and luckily that was caught on tape. And fortunately for this instance, I hope the video that is being shown around town will be able to prove that she was assaulted by deputies as well. But once again, I'm Richard Taylor, just hoping that this video gets shed some light on the misconduct of certain law enforcement officials, and I want to give credit to all those law enforcement officials who do their job with honor, integrity, and commitment and respect to the people that they are sworn to serve and protect. But I'll see you next time. There's more videos. I have a lot more information to share with the public. So if you could just share this video and to bring light on, you know, some of the misconduct. But once again, this video is specifically about Deputy Taylor, who has assaulted a woman who's in handcuffs, and also, you know, he's profiled and harassed me as well. So I know his behavior firsthand. But I thank you guys for listening. Y'all take care and have a blessed evening.